could be a good moment to talk about test.
Test your might.
So we're Sonia and Liu Kang doing pair programming over there. All right, so test. Let's have a look. We want to start testing a little bit this little widget. One thing that I would like to point out is when should we start testing our software. In general, the earlier the better. We tend to procrastinate the not so fun part to the last part of the development cycle. But in reality, the soon we start adding some testing code, the better, because we have more possibility of catching the bugs early in the system, in the cycle of the software release, rather than fixing it once it's deployed. That would be the worst case, right? This is a simple project, and there won't be much to test. Although I didn't want to wait until the end, just to keep to have a little bit of best practice, and to show you guys how it's important to sometimes break the flow and insert another level of quality, so to speak. So let's talk about the testing pyramid. We have like a hierarchy of tests where the base of the pyramid is the unit tests, and then we have integration in the middle and end-to-end. So you've seen this before, probably. If not, what does that mean? Unit test, we are focusing on the smallest part possible of the system in place. There could be a file, a function, usually. Integration is how these components are interacting, so there's a little bit of flow involved. It's not just testing a small part, but the input and output from one unit to the other. And end-to-end is like sort of how the user would test it. So we are testing all the hierarchy of the architecture. So for example, in a web application, we would test the interface, and by testing the interface, we also test all the internal part. For example, if this interface in the end it stores something in the database, we are doing all the hierarchy of the test from the UI, so the software in the middleware, and then the database. So it's an end-to-end. It's very costly in terms of performances usually. So the unit test is the fastest, end-to-end is the slowest. I heard recently a company saying that their end-to-end test lasts 5 hours for their product. It's insane, imagine. But here, for this example, that for this little project that we're building in React, how do we implement the tests, right? So unit usually targets something like a function or a class, so to speak, a little part of algorithm. End-to-end would be like testing the user interface with clicking and see if the events are fired correctly, if a page is loading, if a button clicked, then trigger some specific event. Integration is it's hard to say in React. It would be how the component, if the component itself is it's working in the context of all what's around. So I think that the most valuable part for considering the fact that we have a clean architecture in place, I would focus on the end-to-end and unit. Unit in particular, we would see how easy it is now to target the business logic now that we have separated all the bits and pieces. And end-to-end, it's useful because it practically mimic how the browser or a device would interact with the system. Here's another pyramid. So we have Giza and whatever. Just to show you that there are different terms for this kind of philosophy of testing. But then practically, it's up to you to decide which tools and which practice, which methods are best for your system. The concept here is that it's a level and there are different layers. So in both of these cases, we have separation. You can see here we have unit, component, integration system. So we have 5 levels, but the story is that in the end, what we have at the top is more like, for the React, is more like mimic the user behavior, and in that we would test all of the algorithm behind those components as well. And the units would be more like close to the code part of it, so the small pieces of component. You can choose to cover also if you work in a big company and you have a specialized team, you want to test as much as possible. If you are a smaller team or one man team, I'd say that it's a good balance to just focus on these two, right? So let's do it. Let's start from the end-to-end, which is fun to watch and very valuable. It's a valuable skill to have. For the end-to-end, there are different tools today. The most common one are Cypress and Playwright. There used to be Selenium as well back in the days. It's still used, but let's go with Cypress because it's quite used and it's working. It's what I know. So it's a good tool to have in the bed, but Playwright would be similar, so to speak. So what's that? It's just kind of testing framework where we can mimic the behavior of our web browser. So essentially, we will have an automated way of moving the mouse, clicking, and check things. And we can write our tests in different languages. We would use TypeScript, JavaScript, TypeScript. And we also prepared the setup at the beginning, like Chess Mastermind. We did these moves before, if you remember. We had this in the composer file, because what happens is that inside the Docker, effectively a Chrome browser will start running. So we need to add this lib, GTK, and sound, which you might say, what the heck are those things doing in a React? But so you know, if you want to follow the same setup, or the other way to do it would just be to, install the Cypress in your own main environment if you don't want to close in a Docker. I like to keep everything separated from my main system so that other people can use our Docker file as well without any issues, hopefully. Okay, so let's install it. I tried to install it before, but let's redo this step again. So npm install Cypress. It's a dev dependency, and it was quick because I did before. What happens is that it would be quite a big package to download, because as I said, there will be the whole browser will be downloaded in packages. And the way I structure the project is that we have this volume Cypress cache folder inside our folder structure, and this will map the home node cache Cypress. So Cypress we try to install in this directory, which will be mapped here. So if everything works correctly, it looks like these volumes will not be erased once we start the Docker. Maybe one day I will talk more in depth about this Docker stuff. You guys let me know if you want to know more. But essentially is this. So when we run the installers, we get all this juicy stuff. Nice. So now let's try to run it. I've looked in the doc, and it's going to be npx cypress open. So boom, you can see this window. I hope it's not too small, but what it is, it's pretty fascinating. this thing is running inside a container, and the video output, I think it's called X11 or something, it's forwarded to the Docker hosting, which in this case is Windows and WSL, but it's pretty cool. So this window is not running. It's not a Windows desktop like this one, for example. It's a container, something which is running inside a container, and then is forwarded outside of the container, and that was possible due to these settings. Let's grab it because I think it's going to be quite interesting here. So environment, X authority, display, and then this one. So these are the things that makes all the magic works. TMP X11, X authority, display, and then this stuff that I showed you before. So that's the setup. Okay, so let's continue to see what's asking. We have end-to-end testing, and you see, I don't know if you notice, it created something here. I guess this stuff. Yes. So it's created some backbones file just to start with. Let's go with the default. It's complaining, that's normal, probably. Now I'm gonna fix it and then come back about the default configuration. So let's have a look. Let's also add the types, like npm install types Cypress as their dependencies. And then we add this line into the tsconf types Cypress. Okay. When we start it, we're going to see an error. Show you guys what it is. Decide to go up, make my life difficult. Maybe restart it. Because in random places. Okay, this error. Your config is invalid, blah, blah, blah. So apparently it's not capable of loading the configuration. I was reading somewhere one solution could be to rename the config file to mgs. So let's do it. So this one, rename to mjs. Let's see if it works. Looks happier. Yes, cool. Start. It's gonna open another window. Wunderbar. So that fixed it. Okay, so let's commit into and setup. Nice. I just committed because I feel like it's gonna create more files from here. So we need to choose create new spec, which can be used to start testing our application, or scaffold. Let's go with this one. Let's do it. Probably is gonna fail. Oh, actually, he's trying to access example Cypress. I don't know if from the Docker container is gonna be able to access it, but why not? Actually, it did. Okay, perfect. So here you can see the simplicity of how easy it is. This is JavaScript, not TypeScript. We might want to change it, but essentially it's visiting the website example cypress.io, and then that's it. So we're gonna incrementally start from there. So how about we do this? We visit our own, of course, application. So localhost 5173. Remember, you need to have that running. So in one terminal we are running the application, in the other we are running the test. So now we are looking, after we visited the page, we are looking for the dashboard keyword, if it's there or not. So let's save it. And boom, look at this sexy thing. So it's loading and it's not finding dashboard, but it's loading in here. Let's reload so you guys can see. There's a browser effectively running, and you see you can also interact with these elements. Now, I think it's checking the dashboard uppercase here, while here is dashboard capitalized. That's my guess. Let's rerun it. Boom, test passed. Fantastic. I love it. So this opens up a new world of possibility. Now, with this simple setup, we can test a lot of things with Cypress, and we can add so much value to the quality control of the application. Yeah, you will see how easy it is to write even complex tests. Okay, how about we try to use TypeScript for this test? So in theory, very much in theory, we are converting that file from JS to TS. I wish that could be so easy. When we convert to TS, we get a bunch of errors, like can find, he's not finding the types. So let's try to fix these. All right, so we have to, as it's saying here, it doesn't have the type. It's suggested to set the types of Jest. So how about we install Jest as a dev dependency, right? Let's do it. Save dev Jest as well as types Jest. Okay, a bunch of things was installed. Now let's restart. Let's reload the IDE. Let's see if it's happy. It's still complaining, so there's more to do. He's suggesting to add the Jest type in the TS config, so let's do it. Next to Cypress, we are gonna add Jest as well as Node. See how he likes it, and then reload. Okay, looks that it's fixed it. Fantastic. So that was the one of the key element. I also wanted to show you a couple of changes that have been done here. So one is this include part. This include part, essentially the TS config is set up so that it's including Cypress TS and Cypress .config.ts. So this line was new, as well as this part from target down to force. So we're going to need this, and also inside the TS config app and TS config node.json, I commented out that no emit true here and here. Otherwise, you see if I had this and save it, I'm gonna have this problem like here and here. So we have to comment this. Good. So these two line and this stuff. So a little bit of configuration, but we did it. So we can proceed. And another line we need is this spec pattern inside a Cypress config mjs. So that's all. This should be everything. Let's see if the TypeScript tests are working. Yes, sweet. Okay, I moved up here so that we can display the Cypress back there. Let's add a simple test, an additional one. How about check if we are displaying the nodes, like 3 nodes. The way we're going to do it is visit the home page, visit the page of the application, and check if we have 3 elements with the ring node class. Because remember, here in the ring node component, we are tagging the class name with the ring node. So let's save it. As soon as we save it, we should see down there the Cypress adding the test case and running it straight away. Boom, it's passing. Let's check if let's test the test. Let's say check if there are 5, and yeah, it's failing. Perfect. So they have to be 3. At the moment they are naive, like we are checking hard-coded values, but again, let's start simple. One thing that immediately we want to do is to start refactoring the tests. Yes, guys, we need to refactor the test. It's a constant refactoring. When there is one line duplicated, one or more, we need to kind of start thinking not to repeat ourselves. Don't repeat yourself. Dry principle, you know. Here, why don't repeat yourself is one of the foundation of software engineering. So let's not repeat ourselves, and the way we can do it, we can simply visit the page before each execution of the test. You do it like that. And then you can do a bunch of nice things. You can see Cypress is quite easy to use. And let's move this stuff here. So in theory, now when I save it for each execution, yes, still working. Awesome. So I think we're in a pretty good position to keep working on this test. And of course, we don't want to add all possible tests now, but see, just a little bit to start with. So let's add a couple more. Okay, the next test I would like to add is related to the messages, the default messages that we display when we open the page, the app, and in particular, we are interested in checking that no nodes are selected, that this message, no node selected, is displayed here, as well as some kind of message in the list of the devices and device details. Now it's all kind of messed up. But to do that, we would use something like a CSS class to target those elements in the page, and then check if a certain text is contained in there. The problem here is that you see the importance of calling name, giving names properly. I called stupidly first, second, third, and fourth. I know it was coming. It's time to rename these CSS classes in a better way. So for example, this would be node detail cell, I guess. It's way better. And this would be device, this list cell, and this device detail. Right. Okay. So we need to change the corresponding CSS as well. So this stuff here need to be changed. Okay. So this one as well needs to be changed. Let's call it ring cell. Okay. So I change the naming here, ring node details, and then devices list cell, and devices details, which should be the fourth one. Let's improve the name of this first, second, third, fourth as well. So let's call these guys ring node details, yes. Device list, yes please. And then device details, okay. So here we would have, I guess he knows. We would have ring. Sorry about this, but this is real life. Always improve your code when you can. Naming is important. Let's see if he knows all this stuff. Yes, he does. The power of AI is not too hard. Wonderful. So we improve the naming of the CSS. We improve the naming here, and now we can target the class in a better way. Each part of the dashboard, 4 parts. Make it a little bit larger so that we can see all the 4 elements. Good. Okay, so let's work on our messages and add some tests for them. Now we have, as we can see, no node selected. Here we have nothing meaningful, so we will need to add something else. Because at the moment the device list is just trying to, it prints device list, which we don't want as we have already a title. Okay, but we kind of want to display something like a message if there are no devices, if the list is empty. So how about this? We say Wi-Fi devices. Yeah, this is right. Dot length equals 0. Then we print no devices. That sounds right. Okay, no devices. So we have these 3 messages to check. No selected, no node selected, no devices, select device to view details. Yeah. Let's do it in our test. Okay, so it should display correct empty messages, right? I'm just tabbing. But what we want to do here is CY get. Let's do it from scratch. CY get. We want to check that the first node detail, this one, display no node selected. So node detail cell contains no node selected, no nodes. Apparently I misspelled. No node selected should be visible. Interesting. So what are we going to do? Let's fix this typo. Let's save it and see if it's running the test correctly for the first one. So boom, there's a problem. Let's see what it is. No detail cell is not finding it. I think here shouldn't be like that. It should contain no node selected. Well, I feel like it's not finding the selector node detail cells cell for some reason. Yes, and the reason is the dot. So tiny mistake. This is the fascinating part of IT. You miss a dot or a semicolon and nothing works anymore. Okay, so dot, of course, because it's a class, no detail cell. Let's save it. Boom. It's working. The test pass. Let's counter prove it, adding something like ciao instead of no node select, and the test should fail. If not, drumroll, yes, it's failing. Perfect. So we want to add the expected message, save it, run the test again, and the test is passing. Very good. Let's check also the other messages. Should be easy peasy. Just copy and paste this line. Basically, we have two more messages to check. One is the node devices list, right? And the other one would be device detail cell. And the messages would be now doing the other way around. No devices, of course they would pass because I'm kind of checking, I'm kind of extrapolating the text from here. Nevertheless, that's what we want to check. So the test is passing, cool. If you would have something else, for example, inside the device list, let's say no devices, SS, sounds like, let's see, let's rerun the test. It's passing. I'm surprised. Oh yes, it's passing because it finds this piece of text. Of course. Let's add something silly and rerun it. And this time it should fail. Good. Perfect. So let's fix it. Not sure why it's not rerunning automatically. I'm clicking the reload. But good. So we have, I say, we have a little bit of text. We started adding our foot inside the door of testing. Don't wait until it's too late, until everything is not testable anymore. It's too hard. When you have something working a little bit, just do your setup and add some tests, because in the end, if the project grows, these kind of checks will be insanely good and invaluable. The quality is guaranteed to work. It's kind of mandatory if we want to build something serious. Okay, so we have end to end. What should we look at next? Let's commit, have a sip of tea, and then we can go on. Before leaving this wonderful world of end-to-end testing, let's add a little bit of a more meaningful test, which is this that I prepared. And we are simulating the fact that we are going over a node. In this case, I need to trigger the click. The reason for that is because in S4G, and Cypress is being stubborn about trying to simulate that mouse, the real mouse movement over there, something to remember for the future. But you can get around with clicking the first node, which would be this. And then we want to check that the details on the right will contain the Wi-Fi name, basically here. So we would just get this if we interact with the node, if we activate it. Okay, so let's save it. So you guys see, we take the first ring, we click it or activate it, and then we check that on the right part there is the name of the first node. There's a lot of our coding. We are going to fix it later, don't worry. So save it. It's running. It's you guys see it's activated. So it means that Cypress correctly did its things. Let's double check that it would fail if that was different. Yeah, it's thinking, so it's failing. Awesome, I love it. So this is a little bit of more complex interaction, but this is the power of the end-to-end. So kind of this one I just added for the sake of showing simple example. What we want to do with the end-to-end is checking the interaction really of the interface, of course. Nice. So let's move on, do something else. Maybe let's switch back to, we have options again. We can do the styling that we spoke about, or we could try to think about doing a real API maybe. Sort of front-end related, but it could be a bonus thing to create a real API which pull real information from my local Wi-Fi networks.